everybody. Tonight's our first meeting of the board for the 22-23 school year. So I want to thank everybody out there and all here. Nice to be back in the seat. This is Dr. Wright's first meeting. We're really pleased to have him here. So, good. Okay. So, we do have to report out on something from closed session. And I'm going to just do this. I should have my mic on. The student discipline and other confidential matters at code sections 35146 and 48912. The board took action in a motion by trustee Moss and seconded by trustee Grubbs to approve staff recommendation of student readmission after expulsion of student number 22-008 for the 22-23 school year following this vote, and it was 5 yeses. So I think that's all I need to say, correct? Okay, so we're going to move on. This is very loud. This meeting is being recorded for live streaming and archiving on the district YouTube channel. And there's actually, we're on a new system, and there's like a little thing that you can put your phone up to, and like, what is those boxes called? QR code. Yeah, QR codes. So it might make it easier for some people to join us using that. And at this time, I'd like to invite Dr. Wright to please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as written?
I move that we approve the agenda as written.
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in, yeah.
President Zeta?
Yes.
Trustee Moss?
Yes.
Trustee Ferrucci?
Yes.
Trustee Maselli?
Yes.
And Trustee Grubbs? Yes.
And next up, we have our highlight, and Dr. Beatson's going to share with us some lovely information.
Excellent. Well, good evening and welcome back. It's great to see you. Thank you, President Zeta and trustees. I am so pleased to have here to share with you two doctors in the house. We have Dr. June Regis and Dr. Julie Corona, and they're going to share with us some information about what happened over the summer through extended school year, which is our Students in Special Education, our ELOP, which is our Expanded Learning Opportunity Program, Adult Education and Credit Recovery at Benicia High School. So they are here for a highlight of all the great things they did this summer.
Hi, good evening. Is this on? Okay. Well, good evening. Thank you, trustees and Dr. Wright and cabinet members for having us. My name is Julie Corona. I'm the Director of Student Services.
And hi, my name is June Regis. I'm the director of a really long title, Early and Expanded Learning and Adult Ed. Thank you, Dr. Wright, all the trustees, President Zeta, for having me today.
Like Dr. Beatson said, we are going to give a brief overview of what happened, all the fun that we had over this summer. So before we start on giving you fun information, I just wanted to give you a brief overview of what extended school year is, and it is very small. So let's see if I could do it off just the top of my head. So extended school year, for many times it is confused with summer school, and it is not summer school. It is not a course of classes for students that have IEPs. Not all students qualify who have IEPs. It is for those students that show regression or are at a critical learning stage. So it is to maintain any master skills that have happened during this school year, and teachers work on that during extended school year. So it's an qualification basis. Usually we do have around 40 to 45 students depending on student needs. This is determined during an IEP meeting most during the school year. All right, so I did say what it is. An extended school year is not to teach new skills. It is not offered to all students on IEPs. It is not to teach, to introduce new goals. It is not a typical summer school program. It is specifically designed for students' unique needs, and for those students to maintain those goals that they have mastered during the school year. So this year, we offered extended school year pre-K to 12. We had different programs at different school sites. Our preschool sites, we had our, over at Robert Semple, we had one class of preschool students at Robert Semple, and then we had the K-5 at Joe Henderson, and we had middle school and high school student over at Benicia High School. So we had multiple school sites with different classrooms. We did have, it was a rocky start. At the beginning, we were short-staffed, and so it took a village to get the staff hired, and for those, and I want to give a shout out to those teachers. We had general education teachers chime in and help. They fulfilled those spots in special education and they did an outstanding job during this summer, for them being their first time. So I do want to give a shout out. ESY was managed by a principal, which was Miss Kelly Hughes. She oversaw the entire program, all 3 school sites. She was the ESY principal, and she also did an outstanding job. Given all the bumps at the beginning, all the difficulties at the beginning, getting organized and getting our classes set and hiring staff members. We were short-staffed. I was in a panic. I was like, I can't teach all 45 students. So like always, we have great teachers and always willing to step it up. So thank you for all those teachers that work during ESY. During our ESY, we had specific curriculum designed for students. Some students, like I said, ESY, they continue maintaining what goals they have mastered, so they worked on touch math. They used Spire for those students that use that curriculum during the year. So basically, they just retaught those lessons that were taught during the year, just to ensure that the students maintain those skill sets that they have already mastered. Did I do that? So one of the expectations when extended school year happens, we have a pre-test and a post-test. It is required for all staff, for all teachers to conduct those pre-tests, just to verify and confirm where our students are starting at the beginning of extended school year. Like I said, all of our teachers did an outstanding job in creating either their own assessments or following what the placement assessments were from Spire and the other curriculums that we use. So this is a chart, a graph showing where the differences and the growth, the progress of our students. And I did it, I want to see, but I can't see. So for math, I'm going to do this. For math, we showed in grades K-5 the progress of 85. There was an increase of 85%. That's just an average calculating all of our K-5 students. For our grade 6-8, it was a 45% increase as an average. Same thing for 9-12, we had 65% average of progress. And the way that it was compared was comparing the pre and post test. For ELA, we had a significant jump in progress for our grades K-5, and then we had our behavior, because as you all know, IEP goals, we have behavior goals. We were able to do that, to track that with grades K-5. We didn't have enough data to indicate whether there was a progress or decrease in our grades 6 through 12. Same thing goes for social skills. There was progress, 80% in grades K-5, and 48% and 50% for grades 6-8 and 9-12. So this shows, like I said, our progress was monitored, and it was calculated based on the pre and post assessments that were conducted. Here, oh, that is mine. Here we just show the students that we had. We had ESY students in preschool. We had a total of 10 students. Students in preschool, they typically are doing pre-academics, but mainly is the behavior and the social skills. For the grades K-5, we had a total of 21 students that were consistent in attending school. We had more, but their attendance was not as consistent. And then for grades 6 to 12, we had 11 students attending consistently on a daily basis. We had credit recovery, and these for our students, this shows our high school weight training. We had a total of 8, and course credit recovery, 367 students participated in that credit recovery. And these are just some activities. We have the preschool age students interacting during circle time and social skills. Same thing with our K-5 students, some activities. They also, Kelly Hughes, the principal, we contracted with Brickspace. So we had classes with Brickspace from preschool all the way to 12th grade. Okay. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. Thank you, Doe. We're still going on, right? Or is it,
Yes.
okay. I'll say it at the end.
Hello, everybody. Our summer is fun, fun, fun. It's going to Disney World, kind of fun for our students who parents are at work, so we try to make our summer a fun activity. So our first activity I want to highlight is we've been doing this for 5 years now, and it is a pre-K academy. We get $10,000 from First 5 Solano, and 20 students who had little or no preschool get an opportunity to have a boot camp for a month. So it's basically social skills that they're teaching how to become a student and, to follow directions. So they'll be ready to go into their TKOK class. And so we hired a couple people. We hired Brickspace. There is Superintendent Lizette Astrea. She visited us because she is a commissioner of Solano First 5. So there she is with some of the students. And then we hired that bus up there is Immersive Learning. It's a gal out of Vallejo, and she drives around the science bus. And so she came on our last day, and our last day was a parent day, so the parents got to do science experiments with their children, and it was really a cool thing to see. So there are some families working, and there are the students up there with the teacher that we hired is normally our Matthew Turner after-school teacher. Her name is Mala, And we must have a Spanish-speaking teacher in the group. So our preschool teacher at Robert Semple, Yesenia Jimenez, was in the classroom also. That's part of it. You must have a Spanish speaker because some students come without any English skills. There we go. So our ELOP, we call it ELOP, but it's exactly ELOP, is a new program to all school districts. The state started it last school year to help with the learning loss. It's a 9-hour day, 6 hours in school, 3 hours of after school programming. And so we started on February the 28th. We dived in actually, built the plane and drove it all and flew it all at the same time. So there were a lot of learning opportunities there. So we hired 4, we call them community partners, not vendors, because that's the language we want to use. So we had Nikki from Flying Monkeys, we had Brick Space, we had Arts Benicia, and we had Codin B. This is kind of our last day of ELAP, where Flying Monkey, the kids did a full-pledged play. So the parents were there on the last day. There was costuming and makeup, and it was a to-do. And we also hired the Kona Ice guy, so he came and everybody enjoyed Hawaiian style cone ice. So there's his truck. There are the kids doing their art and showcasing the work that they did. ELOP, in addition to after school, during the school year, we must give 30 full days. So the month of June was 20-something of those days. So we ended on June 30th. And that was our grand finale. We served 225 students in the ELOP program. So this is our regular CDU summer camp. We have a lot of things happening. And so our students go to the pool. There we are at the baseball game, at the A's game. We rented out a movie theater in Vallejo. Did not know they had heated seats in Vallejo. So our kids were nice and toasty in their own seats, relaxed watching their movie. We did a number of field trips. Every Wednesday we went on a field trip, and every Friday we would go to the community pool here. We served 80 additional students in our summer camp. Then we had one of the biggest highlights ever, and I have to thank President Zeta because we threw her in and she was just really helped us out, which is our adult ed. Our adult ed program is very small, but it's a mighty adult ed program. And so we had 6 students actually walk. We had more than that, but some people did not want to walk. They didn't want to wear their gown. They just collected. So we had 6 students that actually wore their gowns and had a little ceremony right here. And then we had 3 ESL students that went to the top level. So they are ready to move on to whichever fields they wanted to go to. And here is President Zeta, myself, and my coordinator, Erica. And do you have any questions? Thank you, guys.
Thank you. I love hearing all this that happened. And I know that you guys were really busy. And I want to thank all of the teachers and staff that helped make this happen. It's no small feat, especially with new programs and stuff. Now those littles are going to they're going to know how to get in line for TK, right? Be ready to get in line. So I thought it was great.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Next up is our superintendent's report. Dr. Wright, you're up.
Right. Good evening, President Zeta, board members, and team. I have a few items I want to share with you regarding the opening of the school year. I want to start with our admin retreat that we had. We had a 2-day retreat and it was outstanding. Working with this group of administrators was very encouraging. We focused our energy on developing relationships and team building. We took a deep dive into our LCAP goals, had a deep discussion on equity. And I got to tell you that our administrators remained engaged through this 2-day period, and they're very insightful. And the commitment that they showed lets me know that our students are in good hands when we open up our school year on the 16th. We also had an opportunity, my wife and I, we hosted our administrators at a social event on Sunday to close the retreat, and it was optional. And we met at the Brown Valley Ranch in Napa Valley, and Oscar Renteria and Denise Renteria were kind enough to let us use our space. Our administrators were able to bring their families, so we're able to just further engage in our relationships as we prepare for the school year. And it was an excellent way to close the summer. We spent our time hiring this summer. I want to thank Dr. Gill and her human resources team. Not only do we have our certificated teachers in all classrooms this year ready to go on day one, which is rare. Many districts around us are having difficulty staffing their classrooms, and we're fully staffed. So thank you to your team, but also thank you for the orientation that you facilitated yesterday. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, and welcoming our new employees and orientating them to our district was very important, and I appreciate your efforts. Tomorrow, we are very excited about our Professional Learning Day. We have a district-wide Professional Learning Day that was organized by Dr. Beatson, Ms. Rice, and Ms. Golson. They've planned activities surrounded by our LCAP. Every staff member will be able to participate in an equity session that will be facilitated through EPIC. We will focus on literacy, math, and also social emotional learning. So we're really excited for that day, and it's a great way to launch the school year and bring our staff back from the summer. Just have a couple quick updates. I want to talk about the COVID protocols as we return to school. Very similar to how we ended the school year last year, we will continue following CDPH guidelines. Masks are not required, but they are strongly recommended. All of our employees and students are advised to get tested whenever they're symptomatic or come in close contact with someone who is positive. And anytime that an employee or a student tests positive, there's an isolation period of at least 5 days, and they can return between day 6 and 10, depending on whenever they can come back with a negative test. Staff and students may return on the 11th day with no further testing. Exciting news in California, we have a universal meals program where all of our students will have a free breakfast and a free lunch. We're very excited about that. Our food service department has been gearing up for our students to have this program, and they do an outstanding job. I had an opportunity to sample their food this summer, and I had the orange chicken, and it was outstanding. So if you're listening and they're serving orange chicken, I highly recommend you try some of that. I want to follow up on the board meeting from June 9th. When our governing board with their DARE program, we said we would discuss it at this particular board meeting. And I want to give an update. Thus far, we've had an opportunity to research and review the DARE program. We had an opportunity to meet with our police department. We surveyed parents and teachers last spring. But in the summer months, it created some obstacles in meeting with all the stakeholders and needed in order for us to make a decision at this board meeting. So what we're going to do is we've reached out to some parents, and we have some dates calendared. On the 26th, we're going to meet with the parent group. Now that our teachers have officially returned today, we're going to reach out to our 5th grade teachers at the 4 elementary schools, and we're going to have a discussion about the DARE program and continue that dialogue. It gives us an opportunity to re-engage our police department as well, and we will make sure that it's on the agenda on September 1st, and then we will share additional information. We'll have a presentation ready to go. I want to conclude my report by introducing my listening and learning tour that I'm going to do as part of my 100-day plan. I have scheduled dates at all 7 school sites. I will visit all 7 school sites 3 times. I will meet with parents, I will meet with students, and I will meet with staff. Those are who are not available to attend the live sessions. I will also have a survey option for our stakeholders to provide input into our school district and our community. At the conclusion of that listening and learning tour, I will look for common themes and I will prepare a report and I will share it with our governing board later this fall. In addition to the listening and learning tour, I have scheduled coffee with the superintendent. Those dates are already scheduled. So with the listening and learning campaign and also the coffee with the superintendent, I will publish those dates on the website early next week so that you can mark your calendars. We're looking for some participation, so we hope that you come out and share your thoughts with us. And that concludes my report for this evening.
Can I ask a question? So with the COVID protocols, one thing that's obviously going to come up, I don't know if Tim would be the one to answer this, but I mean, the thing we had to discuss last year is if we're going to require teachers to stay home, are those days going to come out of their own sick leave, or is there that COVID sick leave again? I would assume that's at the state level, and I would also assume that has not been decided as of yet.
Yeah, good evening. Current COVID leave, and I'm looking over at Dr. Gill. I believe that it exists through September 30th of 2022. So that's the current leave available from the state, and it's mid-August, so we'll see after the start of school if they revise that or extend that.
So people know that, you know, if the districts are going to offer that, it has to start really at the state level, right? No? Yeah.
We followed the state guidelines, yes.
Yeah, and when the state has the money for that, you know, helps out because otherwise. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mark. That was a good question. Anybody else have anything? Yeah.
So yesterday, I did one of my first committee meetings with Valero. It was real interesting to see and impressive to see all that goes on behind the scenes. They actually took us on a tour of the entire facility. We had to wear the safety protocols and the hats and the goggles and the whole bit. But it was just amazing. All that goes on behind the scenes that, you know, you drive by and you don't see with the hills, but it's like a little town down there, and it's all organized by blocks and the way they've got it going. But what was so impressive was the safety protocols and then the backup to the safety protocols, and then there's backups if the initial safety protocols don't quite work. So it was really amazing, and I would encourage you guys to get on the Valero CAP website because the tour and everything, all that information is on there, along with on the Benicia Fire Department website. Fire Chief Josh Chadwick is in fact the connector with Valero, so he posts everything on the city website for Valero for any questions that are coming up or how the monitoring systems work and all that. So lots and lots of information, and then it was an amazing tour. I had not done it, and they took about an hour. In fact, they ran over, and it was okay because everybody was just so engrossed in what was going on. So it was a good day. And then I also wanted to thank the district. I got to go to another orientation for the first day for our new employees yesterday morning, along with Mrs. Zeta. And it's always fun to see the excitement in our brand new staff. So, and we got to obviously wish them all a wonderful start to their new year. So the teachers that we didn't get to see yet, have a wonderful start to your new year, because I know how exciting the start of school is. So thanks for including us.
So they are in board reports. I wanted to thank you, Dr. Wright, for everything that you said. You've been a little busy. Yeah, excellent. We're really happy to see these things calendared, and we're getting going. Excited for this school year to start. Like Ms. Ferrucci said, I attended yesterday's welcome to the new employees, which was fantastic. There was a lot of people sitting in that room afterwards before they did their little training, but it was lovely to see all these fresh faces. And I can't tell you that it was palpable how much energy was there and excitement, and people are just, it seems like everybody is excited to be back. They're excited to be with the district. They're happy. And I just hope that that's going to continue on throughout the year. So it was wonderful. And then you had mentioned that tomorrow's that professional development, which I'll stop in the morning to say hi. And I look forward to seeing all our teachers and staff there. So that's all I have to say. Anybody else? No? Okay. Then we are going to move on to comments from members of the public. All functions of the board meeting, including public comments, will take place in person. Members of the public may address the board at a regular meeting on any item within the board's jurisdiction. Speaker cards are available at the entrance table. Please note the item you wish to speak to and submit a card to the board secretary. The board president will call the open session general comments during the public comment item. Comments for items on the agenda will be called during the specific item. Comments are limited to no more than 3 minutes per speaker, or the board may limit the total to 20 minutes per item with the timer displayed on the monitors. By law, no action may be taken on any item raised during the public comment period, and matters may be referred to staff for placement on a future agenda of the governing board. Please be reminded to keep your comments respectful, as students may be watching or attending. Thank you. At this time, do we have any? We do not. Okay, well, next time, come on by, leave a comment. So we're going to move on to item number 11. All items under the consent calendar are voted on at the same time. Consent items do not need to be read individually, and I don't know if I needed to say that, but that's highlighted on my paper. Anyway, let's move on. So we have 5 items, and we are going to find out at this point if we have a motion to make the consent calendar, to accept the consent calendar as written.
I'll move to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
President Zeta?
Yes.
Trustee Moss?
Yes.
Trustee Ferrucci?
Yes.
Trustee Maselli?
Yes.
And Trustee Brooks?
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 12. We're going to have a hiring update from the amazing Dr. Gill. She has been really, really busy, and we thank her and her team.
Good evening, Miss President, trustees, and Dr. Wright, your first board meeting. Excellent job. And cabinet and community members. So first of all, I want to thank Dr. Wright and welcome you officially, publicly. We are very pleased to have you with us, and it's a pleasure to work with you. Yes, it's always amazing. So for us in HR, from April to I won't say from March to September, it's really busy. Like for summer, for other people, summer is like free time. For us, summer is the busiest time of the year. But it's a good busy, it's a happy busy, because we get to hire people, right? So we hired, I want to say, over 60, 70, approximately 70 people over this summer. I do also want to say we are very proud in this district to promote within. So there are several positions. I want to say approximately 30 people have been promoted within, either from a supervision aide to an instructional assistant, or from a assistant to a permit teacher, many positions, from a classified position to certificated position. So we like to grow within and encourage our own employees to continue moving up, and we'll continue doing that. And so new employees, yesterday was very exciting to see new employees. We have approximately 45 new employees we will introduce. So we have 60, 70 plus new employees, but out of those, about 45 are new to our district. Rest of them be promoted, and then we had to hire new ones. And again, we are very proud. I'm super thankful to my HR team, the best team ever I can imagine, dream of working with, and also our admin and our BTA and our CSCA teams as well, because everybody pitches in hiring. We always include, depending on the positions, our BTA members and CS members in interviews, and everybody helps out throughout the summer when we interview for different kind of positions. So without everybody's help, it wouldn't be possible. So we are super thankful to everybody for making all of this possible, and for us to be able to say, as Dr. Wright said, we are pretty good. We are solid on hiring. And yes, some classified positions, we're still bringing in people. We still are going to continue working on, but just basic having a teacher in front of every single classroom, we're solid there. So, that's a great feeling. We're still working on some paperwork and stuff with some people, but it feels really good, feels happy, right? And we're ready to go for the year. And thanks again to everybody. And thank you for the board. For you guys are amazing. We love you guys. So, yes.
Thank you, Dr. Gill. Thank you. We're going to move on to item number 13, which are our action items. And we discuss each one here. So, Dr. Gill, you're going to talk about the first item, consideration and approval of intent to employ with a variable term credential waiver, approval of the variable term credential waiver as presented.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
I'm going to be here for a while. I have a couple of
Yeah, I
minutes
see
after
this.
this. Yes. So this comes up every so often in our system. We had one like last year as well. So sometimes what happens is a teacher qualifies, but there is one little piece missing. So in this case, Mr. Vicente Sanchez, who actually taught with us last year, amazing teacher, is worked on a STIP credential, because they're PIP, STIP, those type of credentials, right? So in this case, he has very close to his paperwork being done, submitted to the state, but it's not quite there yet. So because it's in that process, in the meantime, we need to have this variable term waiver approved by the board for him to be able to officially teach in the school at the school site.
So can I get a motion, please?
I'll move to approve the variable term credential waiver as presented.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
President Zeta?
Yes.
Trustee Moss?
Yes.
Trustee Parucci?
Yes.
Trustee Maselli?
Yes.
Trustee Gross?
Yes. Okay, Dr. Gill, you're up again regarding the MOU for salary range change in a specific classified position in revised Classified School Employees Association.
Yes, Madam President. So this is one of those things that makes you feel good when we can do something like this, right? So this is something as a school districts we identified. I am very proud of our directors, Director Ms. Tanya Courtney, Food Service Director, and Miss June Reeses. She came to us a while back, and with Dr. Beatson and Mr. Rahels and Dr. Wright's help. So what we're doing here is for the first food service positions, as Dr. Wright mentioned, that we can provide the universal breakfast and lunch. That means hundreds of more of our students able to benefit from that program. What that also means is more feeding students and serving more students means more work for our employees. So but we are serving more students with the same number of positions. Even though our CSCA, they are very supportive of our employees as well, but we also by ourselves identified that since our employees are having to do more work, and also state is adding a new requirement for food service employees there's a word for it. It's when people have infections. What was the word? Just skipping me right now. So allergies. Yes, allergies. So now food service employees also have to get that training. So it's basically they have to receive more training, more work serving more students. So we by ourselves identified that and saying that since our employees are doing more work, these specific employees have quite a lot more work added to them, so they should also get paid more. So we're just requesting that we pay them additional, and this does not impact general fund budget because it comes out of food service funding. So that's for the food service employees. And for the second piece, which is the instructional assistant and CDU employees, that is, so we have several positions where the intent of the position is where the employee supports the teacher. And it could either be working with the preschool students or school-age children, but it's just assisting the teacher. And there are different titles for those positions, but the job duties are very similar, but the positions are sitting at different ranges. Again, as a school district, we noticed that came to our attention, and we wanted to make sure that our employees are being paid equitably. So we are requesting that we also bring them to par and put all of the employees at the same level because the duties are similar. For the CDU employees, there is no impact on general funds. CDU funds itself. And for instructional assistants, I believe for all of the 5 instructional assistants, it will be a maximum of 20,000 for the entire year for the all employees, if I'm correct, Mr. Rahel. Right? Is that accurate approximately? Yeah. So that's the only impact we have financially, but at least now we will be able to sleep better and saying we're taking care of and we're being fair to our employees.
Can I get a motion, or would you like, is there a motion on the table?
Yeah, I can like to make a motion to approve the MOU for salary range change in specific classified positions and revised classified school employees association number 1096 salary school for the 2022-2023 school year.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call. Yes.
Yes. Trustee Perucci? Yes. Trustee Maselli?
Yes.
And Trustee Gross?
Yes. Okay, next up is the approval of the MOU for salary range change in specific classified positions and revised classified school employees association number 1096 salary school for the 2022-23 school year. Dr. Gill. Well, did you combine those when you were talking about them?
So let me, so what happens is when we increase those salaries, the salary schedules automatically change.
Okay, I'm looking at the item number C. Which would have been our next. So did we?
No, C is a substitute teacher. C is substitute teachers.
Right, we're on substitute teachers.
C is substitute. We'll do the C now. Yes.
It doesn't say it. Oh, okay. Mine has an error. Okay. Okay. So, please.
Definitely. First of all, I want to thank you for on behalf of our employees for approving that. So we appreciate that. So see, again, as we know, with COVID, it was difficult last year for us to, get subs. Again, we want to honor our subs as well and pay respect to them too. And we also want to make sure that anytime we have really committed employees, we know that we love our employees, but sometimes if for a unavoidable reason employee has to take a day off, we want to make sure we have subs filling those classes. So what we are requesting is that for the governing board to approve the revised updated salary schedule to pay subs also more and bring so we can have subs in the classrooms for certificated staff.
I'm wondering if we could open that to discussion. So I have some questions on that. So on October 25th, 2021, we had raised the sub pay. We were in dire straits for subs. So we started paying $200 a day with a valid 30-day emergency sub sub-credential. So now that it looks like we're proposing to take that down by about $20 at $180 a day. And then in October, we also raised the daily rate for 30-day emergency subs to $225. And now it looks like we're bringing it down. I'm particularly concerned with our valid California credentials. We were paying $270. We're decreasing that by $70 a day. Let's see. An active BUSD retirees, active part-time certificated employees, were being paid at $285 a day, and we're bringing that down to $210 a day. I want to make it, and I'm sure you remember from last year, this is we have critical needs for substitutes, and we also have a critical need for qualified substitutes. And the competition among, to get substitutes in the classroom, we were very successful when we raised these rates. I don't understand the rationale into lowering them so much, especially for our valid California credentialed BUSD retirees and part-time certificated employees, why we are decreasing that by so much. So.
Good question, actually. So, and I want to thank Mr. Rahal and his team. Actually, they did a really good job. What they did was they actually contacted our neighborhood districts to ask how much are they paying now. So,
can I ask what you use? What was that from EdJoin, or was that contacting the districts themselves?
Contacting the districts themselves. Okay. Yeah. I think that's what you did, Mr. Rahal, later. Sorry. Yeah. Staff contacted
the districts. It wasn't taken from EdJoin.
No. Okay. Yeah. So basically asking them what are they planning to pay this coming year. So then we looked at their rates and then suggested these rates based on those rates.
Make ourselves attractive.
Make ourselves attractive and competitive with neighboring school districks.
I don't
Especially
know that it makes us look that attractive. I'm wondering. So there isn't a percentage. There's a lack of consistency in the amount of a decrease for each substitute category. So it was simply done. Anyway, I think I'd like a better explanation.
Leave at the end of last year in June, we went back to pre-COVID substitute rates. So going into this school year, prior to this meeting, right now we're significantly below what we're proposing. Our team met and we thought in order to be competitive, we would need to raise those rates back up, and that's what we're proposing today. We understand that they're still below what we were offering at the end of last year, but we believe the rates that we're proposing today will make us competitive. I think if you look at the districts surrounding us, our rates are competitive. I think Fairfield is probably the only district that is paying their substitutes more than what we're proposing.
Fairfield is paying about $300 a day.
That's correct.
So Dr. Wright, how much are we, what's the scale today right now for a substitute that it went back? What did it go back to?
I think 140 was the lowest, and highest I want to say was 200 or something like that. I can look for you right now and check.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have that information. If you look at the credential rate, that was scheduled to go to 145 per day, and the proposal in the packet is to increase that to 200. If you look at the district retiree, that was scheduled to be at 180 and is being proposed to go to 225 per day. And then the district retiree, if it's in a long-term situation, would go from 205 to 250. The other ones, those are kind of the three main ones. Each district has some other miscellaneous types of sub fees, like with or without permits and waivers, but those three tended to be consistent throughout the district, so we use those.
So
to
what metric
compare.
might be used if we discover that our classes aren't being covered because COVID still exists? But if our classes aren't being covered, what's the plan if we don't have enough substitutes?
I believe the plan, if we don't have substitutes, if we can't fill the classes with our existing staff members, I think we're gonna have to come back to the table and take a look at where our sub rates are. But we feel that we're pretty competitive right now with what we're proposing. And if we in fact find that there's an uptick in COVID cases and absences with our staff, then we're gonna have to come back to the table and maybe come back to the board and propose an increase.
I understand UCC. I know where you're coming from.
Thank you. I didn't realize that we had gone back to that very low rate from the June 9th meeting. So, and I understand what's happening here, but I would hate to see us go back to that severe lack of substitutes. I think our students deserve to have qualified substitutes in the classroom.
Not pulling from
Not pulling
Peter to pay
teachers.
to do, yeah.
Yes,
there was
not pulling from prep.
It was my foot. It was my foot. My foot hit the thing.
You know, so
That's on
so not pulling from prep periods, not pulling PE teachers or music teachers or.
That was a big concern last year. And the year before.
Like you said, if
Right.
it's not working, we can come back.
It gives us a couple of weeks to do an evaluation and see how we're doing. If we're having trouble covering the classes, we will come back.
So do you want to amend that item or just leave it as is?
I don't know how I would amend it, except that I would prefer that we keep the rates at the October 2021 pay scale.
So
I would prefer that.
I believe what we have to do is vote on the motion.
Yes, you're correct.
You can't amend it now.
No, you're correct.
Okay, so do I have a motion on the table to for the consideration and approval of the substitute teachers?
I move to
During the
approve the certificated substitute teachers' pay increases for 22-23.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Roll call. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, with reservation.
Okay. So at this point, we don't have to do anything. We just have to, we'll revisit it as the time goes on. Okay.
We'll come back with some data to share with the board after the first couple of weeks of school.
Thank you.
I
Okay,
might ask one more question.
sure.
In the red, underneath it, it says on July 1st, 2023, the daily and hourly rate will revert back to the previous pay rates from 2020 to 21 school year. So are we saying that these rates that we just passed are temporary?
Exactly.
Yes.
All right. We're going to move on to the next item. Consideration and approval of adoption of independent study policy update and approve the independent study VPAR 6158 as presented. Dr. Beetson, welcome.
Yes, thank you very much. So We just, as you recall, in June, approved all of our new board policies. We had updated them. We went through a workshop with CSBA or school services to get that done. And over the summer, there were some minor changes in the ed code for independent study. And so I have gone through and updated the policy. The changes were really around timelines for signatures when a student is going to be on independent study. Some change in the language around students in special education who request independent study. It has to be a IEP team recommendation, and it has to be articulated in their IEP before we can sign the master agreement. There were some exemptions for students who were receiving clinical or medical treatment with valid medical proof that they didn't have to attend some of the synchronous sessions that are required. And then there were some minor changes around the tiered re-engagement, and that was really when a student was not turning in work and or not showing up to the synchronous instruction. And all of that is tied to our ADA. And so if there's a way to calculate all of that. And so there was just some timeline changes pretty much in the policy. And so I've updated them and bring them forth for your approval this evening.
Thank you. Do I have a motion on the table, please?
I'll move to approve the independent study board policy and AR 6158 as presented.
Thank you. Can I get
I'll
a
second it.
Thank you. Roll call, please. Mrs. Martinez.
President Zeta.
Yes.
Trustee Moss.
Yes.
Trustee Ferrucci.
Yes.
Trustee Maselli.
Yes.
And Trustee Brown. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Beatson. Next up, Mrs. Rice. We're going to be talking, she's going to be talking to us about the consideration and approval of the adoption of curriculum for world language French courses.
Good evening. Good evening, President Zeta, trustees, Superintendent Wright, and Cabinet, and of course our BUSD community. My name is Stephanie Rice. I am Director of Education Services, and I had the privilege to work with our World Language Department this past school year. And I'm here for consideration and approval of the adoption for our World Language French course for our secondary level. But before I go into some detail on that curriculum, since it's the new 22-23 school year, I'd just like to do a quick recap on our adoption process, if that's okay with you. So just to recap, our adoption process typically starts with our adoption cycle put forth by the California Department of Education. So world language was up for adoption starting last year. And what we do is my department researches curriculum. Teachers also bring forth curriculum. And we then discuss as a department which curriculum they would like for me to get samples of. I bring in samples. The department and or representation from each elementary site looks at the materials, and then they decide on 2 to 4 curriculums that they would like for me to schedule presentations with. So then the department or group at hand goes through the presentation, and they narrow it down from 2 to 4 down to 2 to pilot. When they pilot, we typically pick 1 unit, or 6 weeks is about the timeline. We like to do a unit because we like to start from the beginning and go through some assessment to really see the scope of the work. And then once that's decided, we send out communication to our parents to let them know that we're doing this pilot and give them some information. And then the teachers work through an extensive materials evaluation checklist, and I shared this before, but just to recap, that goes through several different highlighted areas, such as standards alignment, like how do the core materials support course content, objectives, and standards. Program overview, several questions like how well are the materials organized to facilitate ease of use and thorough lesson planning. Assessment, how well does the program incorporate formative and summative assessment, as well as several other areas in that domain. Universal access, how well does the core program provide opportunities for differentiated instruction and multiple entry points for the lesson. inclusivity. How well does a program represent a diverse range of cultures, genders, and exceptionalities? And as they go through this, it's a 4-point rubric from 4 being excellent to 1 being not found. And they work individually and then as a team on putting forth their recommendations and comments. And then they go forth and they repeat on the second one. So this is an example of what our French department did. So I'm bringing forth to you today the recommendation to adopt from Vista Higher Learning a curriculum known as Diaccord 1 for our French course 1, Kimmins 2 for our French course 2, and Diaccord 3 for our French course 3. As they completed their recommendation, they scored nothing lower than a 3, and the majority ranged from 3.5 to 4 on all of the curricular areas. Also to point out, if there's any discrepancy amongst a team, when I collect this, I look for trends, and then I share out the overall details, and we discuss if there's any discrepancies in people's ratings. But this particular curriculum scored really high, and some of the highlights was that it works on integrating the interpretive, interpersonal, and presentational communication standards. And a big piece that Catherine Osmer, department chair, spoke on is that it gives real world examples and has them apply it to their life while learning to speak the French language. It has textbook, workbook, and also online components with videos, interactive speaking abilities, and just kind of the gamut of really trying to immerse the students in learning French. A question you might have is, why are we looking at a title of Diaccord 1 and Diaccord 3? Why not Diaccord 2? And I asked that question as well. And Ms. Osmer explained that they align very well. For the second book, she chose Kimmins because it does a nice job of recapping some of the pieces from the first book in Diaccord 1. It doesn't just dive forward, and she has found with her French 2 students that they need that recap. And then it really takes them on to that next level. So she felt like this was much more, and the team felt like this was much more of a support for all of our students. So to end, I would like to request your approval on the adoption as the recommendation from the World Language Department at our high school level for French. And do you have any questions for me?
So Steph, I know the process is very complicated and it takes time, but my question is this. And maybe it doesn't necessarily apply to the French, but when we're adopting curriculum and then material, aside from sending a communication out to parents, what role does the parent play in that adoption?
So we send communication out when we pilot, and I probably left this piece out, so thank you for asking that question. When we get to after the teachers have gone through and worked through the materials and worked through it with the students, we then put communication out again to parents and offer for parents to be able to come down to our office and view the curriculum and ask any questions, etc. In ed services.
So they have to come to the district office?
Correct. Yes.
Do you get much participation?
Most participation? We get minimal participation, to be honest. It depends on the curriculum. It depends on the level.
I would imagine more the elementary.
Actually middle school.
Middle school.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure that the parents really are being exposed, because when we hear it's already too late, it's a done deal. So it's like, what actually is the avenue and opportunity for parents to see the materials and or the curriculum before we approve?
Okay. Well, we follow CD recommendations, which is after we do the pilot, is having it on view for at least 10 days, putting that out to parents and giving them, the opportunity to come down and view. And like I said, ask any questions that they might have. And then after that, depending on what questions arise, then that's when we bring it back to you all. So
Okay. And this is applicable to the supplemental materials as well?
no, we only as a district do the adoption process for our core materials. Supplemental materials, we do not bring forth to the board because supplemental materials are kind of ongoing, right? As you need support. Our core material is our material that we expect and want to adopt, something that teachers would use at least 80% of the time. It's that core material. So supplements as far as other text and
I'm thinking of the high
cetera.
school supplement materials. I mean, I sit on your committee, so
Yes.
I know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
So no, that's not part of our policy.
And if you like, we can come back to a future board meeting and do a presentation with some details and answer some of your questions, if that would help.
That would be great.
Okay.
Okay. I just think it would be good information for everybody to have. Just how do we get these?
Sure.
Thank you for the question. Thank you, Mrs. Rice, for your
Absolutely.
presentation. And I'd like to see if we have can I get a motion on the table?
I'll move to approve the curriculum adoption as presented for.
Thank you.
And I'll second it.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Mrs. Martinez.
President Zeta.
Yes.
Trustee Moss.
Yes.
Trustee Perici.
Yes.
Trustee Maselli.
Yes.
And Trustee Grimes.
Yes.
Thank
you.
Excellent.
I'm just trying to
Okay. The next item is the final budget adjustment, and Mr. Rayhill, you're going to be sharing some information about money.
Betcha.
Thanks.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. We have this item for your action for approval of the adjustment of $633,683 to the ELOP grant. That's our Expanded Learning Opportunity Program grant. And you heard the highlight earlier today by Dr. Regis on the program that serves. She focused on the summer activities of ELOP, but we also offer after school every day during the school year as well. And so this item is being brought to you tonight because this was the big adjustment after the state approved the budget at the end of June. And so as they do each year, the state does adopt a final budget by June 30th. Prior to that, the school district passes its budget most of the time based on the governor's May revise and any other current information. So it's just a timing that school districts are required to adopt their budget prior to the state actually approving their final budget. And once they do, we come back and we highlight the major changes to the school budget. And in this case, it is for the 22-23, our current fiscal year, to adjust that ELOP grant by the $633,683. That is a pretty big increase from last year when our district, it was the first year of ELOP last year at $377,000. So and that brings us up to it's about $1 million program for after school. So the state, what we're seeing is that the state of California is investing a lot of money in after school program and summer school. That's what that says. And so we will continue to provide those services at all of our elementary school for after school and into the summer. And there's a lot of information going out by the principals. So families are encouraged to check that out.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Yeah, it is fantastic. All right, can I get a motion, please? Thank you. A second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Mrs. Martinez. Yes.
Trustee Moss.
Yes.
Trustee Perici.
Yes.
Trustee Maselli.
Yes.
And Trustee Grimes.
Yes.
Okay, we have one last item. It's the ratification of the superintendent's contract retroactive to June 9th, 2022. And we're just adding a copy of Dr. Wright's contract in here for the Benicia Unified School District for our continued transparency. It was somehow not included before. So we're adding that here, and I just want to ask, do we have a motion on the table to accept this? Or can I get?
I move that we approve the superintendent's contract.
Thank you.
I'll
Thank you.
second.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Mrs. Martinez.
President Zeta.
Yes.
Trustee Moss.
Yes.
Trustee Farici.
Yes.
Trustee Mansali.
Yes.
And Trustee Burns.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, just to remind everybody that the first day of school is Tuesday, next Tuesday, August 16th, and our next regular governing board meeting is Thursday, September 1st. I wish you all well. Have a great first day at school, everybody, and thank you for being here. Good night. I'm going to close our meeting. It's 8:10.